started. It's after 9. So, good morning. Do you all have a crazy St. Patrick's Day? Well, as you know, I went last weekend to Denison, so that was my craziness. Yesterday was pretty calm, but um, so Gabby, my soon-to-be daughter-in-law, I hope. No news. Gave me this book and it's kind of fun and it just goes through a lot of the, yoga theory and stuff. And um, so I thought I'd touch on Santosha, which is one of the niyamas. And niyamas are healthy habits, and it means contentment. So Santosha is the second niyama, and it can be synonymous with contentment because when you're content, you do not desire anything more or anything less. Ah. So, one's ability to gain contentment is all one needs for happiness in life. Consider the definition of a rich person versus a poor person. It has nothing to do with financial wealth. If your desires are less than the money you make, you're rich. If your desires exceed your income, you're poor. You could have $1 million, which is enough for your needs, but still feel poor because your desires are greater. Or you can make 100 a week, but if your desires and needs require just $80, you're rich. The person who always feels rich, regardless of wealth, is content. Joy and gratitude are felt regardless of gain or loss. So practicing Santosha means you understand the well-known phrase, even this shall pass. You'll embrace what comes and what goes with a smile. May we all smile at this one day. So think about that. Close your eyes. Find your breath. I like to think of contentment as being comfortable with yourself as well. Sometimes people are never content just with themselves. So if you practice turning inward, just being with your inner self, that's practicing Santosha as well. And please bring hands to heart center. May we all feel Santosha today. May we notice and appreciate all those good things that are around us. When you feel content, you always feel the grace that surrounds you. And please lower your hands, open your eyes. And I just want to do a little stretch in here. So stretch up and kind of twist towards your right knee and just bring your hands down, stretch out over that knee a little bit. If that feels good, you'll feel a stretch in your opposite hip, maybe. And then walk your hands to the middle. Stretch out your glutes, your back. Keep going, walk to the other side. And come on up to standing. And just stretch long here. And bring your arms to a T and reach your right hand over to your left and just kind of pull your sleeve up, just stretching and switch. Kind of do a little twist as you do it and do that again. Good. And then stretch your arms up. Just do a little side stretch. So lower your right arm and arc to your right. You can just kind of reach down. Oh, big stretch. Strong through your feet. One more breath here. Come on up and switch. Just take your time. Every exhale, maybe you arc a little more. Come on back up. And bring hands down through heart center. And I'm going to have you grab your blocks and just kind of bring them beside your hands so you can grab them easily. And stretch up again. And fold forward. Just take your time. Just going to do a little time here. Just feel your hamstrings. You can use your blocks, of course, here. Use your feet. Maybe walk your hands left and over to the right. And back to center. And come on down to a deep squat. And come on down to your bone. And just grab your blocks and move to your back. And I'm going to have you insert one block between your legs. Your feet are flat, and just bring it to a spot where it's pretty comfortable for you so you can squeeze it. Now, whether that's, the narrow way or the wider way, you decide. I'm going to put mine a little wider because my hips are a little wider. And then bring the other block between your hands and just stretch up over your head. So squeeze both blocks. You're going to keep your feet flat right under your knees. And then just on your inhale, sweep the arms up, tuck your chin, lift your head and shoulders. Just reach out over your knees. Just hold there, squeezing the blocks. Work in the core. Feel the low back press down. One more breath. And lower back down. Relax for a moment. Just let your arms relax. You don't have to squeeze for a moment. Can you tell we're going to do core today? Sorry. Sorry, Donna. It's the first time you've been for a while. So this time we're going to lift our shins up parallel to the floor, flex the feet, squeeze the block, and then the same thing. Lift the arms, lift the head, lift the shoulders, and reach out. Squeeze the blocks. Feel a little bit different muscles working. Try to count your breaths. And then slowly let go. You can bring your feet down, bring your arms up above your head. Just relax for a moment. Ozzy just doesn't give up, just so you know, Donna. Now stretch your legs straight up and just kind of alternate flexing and pointing the feet a few times. And then squeeze the block between your thighs. Stretch your arms up, lift your head and chest, and this time maybe try and lift your tailbone a bit too. Squeeze. One more breath. And relax everything back down. I'm just hugging my knees in, but if it feels good for you to take the block out, feel free. And then go ahead and stretch the feet up again. And we're going to do two things this time. You're going to ankle your legs down to 45 as you do. Lift your head and shoulders. Squeeze. And go back down. Lift the legs. Lift the arms. We're going to do that 5 times. So stretch the legs to 45. And lower back down. Keep squeezing the blocks. 3. 4. And last time, 5. If you can get the legs lower again. And release. Bring the block out. Bring the soles of your feet together. And just sit in Supta Baddha Konasana for a moment. Knees are wide, or otherwise known as butterfly. And then bringing the knees up. You can choose whether you want the block between your thighs again or not. You can leave the other block down. Bring your shins parallel. Touch the back of your head with your fingertips. Lift your head and shoulders, and then just kind of alternate. So left elbow to right knee. Doesn't really come there, but just keep going back and forth. It's hard to talk when you're doing this. You feel different muscles. Again, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. Release. Move the block. This time, just hug your knees in. Roll side to side. You can roll up to seated and transition to all fours. And this is going to feel really good. Just do some cow and cat. Mostly cow feels good. Stretch out those abdominals. And cat. Well, this time, pause in cow. So you're arcing towards the floor. Lift your feet up. Point the toes. Pull back with your hands. Good. Now bring the feet down. You can choose to curl the toes under or stretch them straight. Round to cat. And maybe lift your knees a little bit. And then inhale. Back to cow. Lift your feet. And exhale, round. Press down, maybe lift the knees. One more time. Press the feet down, round, lift the knees. And then lowering the knees. Go ahead and sit back to a child's pose. Check in with your rest of your body, your hips. Sometimes Santosha for me is when you've done something really hard and you get through it. And that feeling of contentment when you've done something really hard and you accomplished it. Stretch your hands long, palms down, and then make your way up to a downward facing dog. And walk your doggy out. Just explore a little bit with your breath, with your movements. And then come down to all fours again. Make sure your hands are under your shoulders. Really strong core. And extend your right leg. Bend your right knee, keeping your hips square to the floor. Flex the foot. And just start pulsing up and down, feeling the hamstrings and the glutes working on that right side. Good. Pause the pulsing. Lift the foot a little higher, come into a cow. And then go the opposite direction. Hug the knee in towards the nose. Cat. And do that again. Inhale. Cow. And exhale, round to cat. Last time. Just keep noticing the core. Round to cat. And bring the knee down. Good. Let's do that on the other side. So make sure you're engaged. Extend the left leg. Feel the low belly drawing up. Bend the knee. Flex the foot and pulse. Feel those hamstrings and glutes working. Feel your core working. Good. And then pause. Lift that foot a little higher to cow pose. And then draw knee to nose, cat. 2 more times on your own. Just exploring. And then when you're done, lower the knee, take a child's pose. Notice that feeling of contentment. And then coming up to all fours, lower your elbows where your hands are. So the elbows are shoulder width apart. Clasp your hands, press your forearms down. Think, engage the core. Now we're keeping a neutral spine nice and long. Extend your right leg and your left leg to an elbow plank. And just want you to really notice rounding in the upper back, but yet broadening the clavicles so you feel really strong there. Your bum isn't too high, you're not scooping your tailbone. Keeping that neutral spine, extending long through the top of the head so your head's not dropping. Three more breaths. Good. Lower your knees, lower your hips. Just stretch your hands straight. And you'll be in a Sphinx pose. You're going to have to stretch your toes long. Think heart lifts forward. Just feel a little stretch. Sphinx pose. Good. And then lower down, forehead to the mat. Stretch your arms by your sides. So we worked the front pretty good. Let's work the back a little bit. So long side body, head of the arm molds back. Lift the head and shoulders. Lift the head straight up. Lift the arms. Add the legs if you want. Shalabhasana. One more breath. And lower down. Bring your hands by your chest. And lift up to regular cobra. Shoulders on the back. And lower down. Pull your toes. Push up and back. Downward facing dog. Come forward to regular plank. strong in the shoulders as you lower to the mat. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, lower. And find downward facing dog again. You can push up to plank and then down dog if you want. And then walking your hands back to your feet. Come to a forward fold. If you want, you can grab your elbows and just kind of sway side to side a little bit if that works. And then bending your knees, bring your hands on your knees. Come upright and press into your feet to stand up. I'm going to have you grab your blocks again and come on up to the front of your mat, just in case you want them. Sometimes we do. Inhale, stretch your arms up. Content with your breath. Santosha. And fold forward. Touching the block, step your right foot back to a deep lunge. Lower the back knee. Just take your time hugging to the midline. You're going to feel a stretch here because we worked that as well. Maybe stretch up Anjane Asana. Couple breaths. And touch down. Lift the back knee. Step back, downward dog. Extend that right leg. And step it through to a deep lunge. Help it up there if it doesn't get all the way. Feel that back leg super strong. Lower the back knee. Taking your time. Come on up. Anjane Asana. One more breath. And touch down. Lift the back knee. Step back. Downward facing dog. Extend the left leg. Step it through deep lunge. And then step forward, forward fold. Inhale, pranam. Exhale, fold. Inhale, sweep all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Okay, now we're gonna set up for something else. So bring your blocks off to the side and just fold your mat in half. Now, you guys at home, if you're on carpet, I'm not sure how this will work. You might need to, if you're on hardwood, this works. If you're on carpet, you might need should have said this before we started, but you might need a plastic bag on your foot. Because this is our slider. So you're going to come down and kneel on your mat, your hands on your mat, and then bring your feet on the blanket. And you can use the blocks under your hands if that works better for you. You decide. So you're just going to lift your knees, slide back to a plank. See if you can hold steady and come up to downward facing dog. Come back to plank. Bend your knees, slide the knees in, and come down. Okay, now it's harder. That's the easier way. If you want the harder way, you just lift up to down dog and slide out to down dog and slide back in and down. Okay, so just try 5 times doing that. Just play with it. You're gonna really find your core here. Hard to slide down dog, but it feels good. Take a little break in between. It's a little easier. Just bend your knees, slide in, and come down. You still get a core workout. So you decide. And when you've had enough, go ahead and take a child's pose. You've done 5. Get off your wrists. This is a new concept, right? And then come up on your knees for a moment. Bring the blocks in under your hands. And I'm going to have you stand between the blocks. And you're going to just bring your right foot on the blanket. So you might need the blocks on the higher height. I don't know, you decide. Your feet are hip distance apart. You're just going to slide the blanket back to a deep lunge. So your left knee just bends right above your left ankle. Good. And then slide it back in. And keep going. Slide it out. Feel the deep lunge. And slide it back in. 3, 4. I hope this is going okay for you guys at home. 5. Let's do 8. 6, because you're doing so well. 7. And that's my 8. Good. And then slide it in. Step forward. Inhale, pranam. Exhale, fold. Inhale, sweep your arms up. Get a little stretch up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, stretch up. Exhale, fold. Pranam and fold. Carefully step your left foot on. Make sure your feet are hip distance. And then start 8 times, just sliding it back and forward. Don't let your knee come forward. You're just kind of really using your leg muscles. And when you've done 8, step off. Inhale, pranam. Exhale, fold. Inhale, sweep all the way up. Hands to heart center. Good. Let's move our mat back to regular. Move your blanket off to the side. And mosey on up to the front of the mat. Hands. You can use the blocks if you want. And just stand hands to heart center for a moment. Just be content. Just breathe. On your next inhale, stretch up. Exhale, fold. Pranam. And fold. Hands to the block. Step your right foot back just far enough you can ground the heel down and keep the left leg straight. So your pyramid pose here. You might need to bring the blocks higher. That's fine. You do. Okay. Your heels, your knees, your hips line up. You're extending your spine long. Feel like you're not rounding the low back here. I want you to stay upright enough that you feel nice and long. Everything stays lined up. And then see if you feel stable, bring your left hand to your hip and maybe twist to your left. Don't let your hips shift. They stay the same. The left hip crease stays back. Maybe extend the arm if you're feeling like you're twisted far enough that your left shoulder stacks on top of your right. And then touch down, bend into the front knee, step forward, and switch. Left foot back, just so it grounds down. Your left toes might turn out, but your heels, your knees, your hips line up. Everything's square to the floor or to the front wall if it's your hips. Think long, long spine. Maybe bring the right hand to the hip. Turn your belly and chest. When you decide, maybe extend the arm. Twisted up triangle. It's a big stretch in your calf. Good. Reach down, touch the block. Step forward. Move the blocks to the side. Step back to a downward facing dog. Downward dog feels kind of like a contenting vacation right now. Good. On your inhale, plank pose. Exhale, lower to the mat. Inhale to cobra. Exhale, lower. Downward facing dog. Extend the right leg, and you're going to slide the right knee to the outside of your right wrist and maybe bring the foot towards the middle or even, yeah, keep your hips square to the front. This is a big stretch in your hip. Yeah. Pigeon prep. And you decide, I always have to think to myself, Hug the knees towards each other. Then I'm not just dumping into my hip. Maybe want to lower to your elbows. If you want more stretch, you just walk your left foot back so your knee comes back further. You'll feel more stretch. Be careful of your right knee, thinking it's a hinge. Be content with your breath. One more breath. Coming back up to your hands. Curl your left toes under so you can lift up enough to slide that foot back. Down dog. And we'll switch sides. Left leg extends. Bring the left knee clear to the left side of your mat. Lower the back knee. Just check out how this side feels. You're not just dumping into that hip. You're being mindful. You're keeping the hips square. Your right foot stretches straight back. One more breath. Come on up to your hands and step back. Downward facing dog. One last vinyasa, or you can take child's pose if you want. So plank to the mat, cobra, and lower down. Push back to all fours. Keep your toes pointing long. Walk your hands back and sit on your heels. Stretch out your quads. Oh, that feels good. Was that a crack? So is it's either a feel good crack or a not feel so good crack. Good. And then come on forward. Swivel your feet to one side and transition to your backs. Stretch your arms up over your head. Stretch your feet long. Stretch back out. And then hug your knees in. And just kind of massage your low back by rolling side to side. You don't have to work anything too much. Just feel a massage. Good. Now lift your feet up so that your knees are still bent. Bring the knees wider. Elbows on the inside. Reach up, grab either your ankle or little toe side of your feet for happy baby. Let your hands be stoppers. If you press your feet into your hands, you'll feel a lengthening in your spine. And maybe you want to rock side to side once you Look at that. Massage your low back and your sacrum again. Maybe your glutes a little bit. And then stretch your legs up towards the ceiling, hands by your hips. Just point and flex your feet a few times. If you want to, you can come to plow pose. Try not to round the low back. You do. So that's just kicking your legs up over top. And roll down to the mat. Bend your knees. Bring the knees nice and wide on the mat. Maybe arms to T or cactus. And just let your left knee lower towards your right ankle. Your right knee stays up for this variation. And then switch left knee up, right knee down. And then one more time. Left knee down. And switch. And then bringing both knees up. Just bring your feet close together. Soles of the feet come together. Open your knees for butterfly. You can bring your hands on your belly if you'd like. Just being content, Santosha, with your breath. Closing the knees. Bring the feet right under your knees, hands by your side, shoulder blades underneath. Press into your feet, lift to Setu Bandha. Lowering back down. Stretch out for Shavasana. Just take your time finding your comfy position. Every exhale, relax a little deeper. Be content with being still. If you need to cover up with your blanket, you can. Finding Santosha in stillness as well. Sometimes that's the hardest time for me to find contentment. Being still with your thoughts, just focusing in on something that's constant, like your breath. Notice where you tend to retain tension. Encourage it to let go. Socrates said, "He who is not contented with what he has would not be contented with what he would like to have." Santosha. Noticing your breath again. Perhaps try and deepen your inhale. When you're ready, notice that you still moving your limbs, eventually hugging your knees in, rolling to the side, and pushing on up. Just take a moment to just feel your body. Hopefully, you finish something hard. It just feels content to just sit. It's a good feeling. Just bring hands to heart center. Namaste. Oh,